Good evening and welcome to Hope TV News Watch on this 27th day of May 2022. So glad you could join us to inform you on the latest happenings in the country. My name is Grace Wangoi. Assisting with the interpreting tonight is Boniface Muredi. Let's begin. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union have held peaceful demonstrations in the city of Nairobi, demanding the government to release funds for postgraduate training. KMPDU states that the Ministry of Health received 13.1 billion shillings in the supplementary budget for the financial year 2021-2022, yet about 400 government-sponsored medical specialists in training have not had their school fees paid for the last 3 years. As Kennedy Kimani now reports, KMPDU have stated that they will hold weekly demonstrations until their demands are met.
Kanyaga, 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 kanyaga,
the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union KMPDU took to the streets of Nairobi today, demanding the Ministry of Health to release funds for the payment of school fees for government-sponsored postgraduate students, adding that a functional healthcare system requires a well-trained workforce.
We're here out of frustration. All these doctors here work in different counties, and they've been released and bonded to go and study. The ministry receives money for training and for policy. All the funds for training and policy are in this building. But here we have more than 400 doctors whose fees have not been paid despite the funds lying idle in the Ministry of Health. So we are here to demand that the ministry to release the funds immediately so that these doctors can sit for their exams, specialize and come out and serve the wananchi in the different counties.
KMPDU states that the Ministry of Health received 13.1 billion shillings in the supplementary budget for the financial year 2021-2022. Yet, according to them, about 400 government-sponsored medical specialists in training have not had their school fees paid for the last 3 years.
It is unfair that Ministry of Health received more than 60% of the health budget, but they're focusing on making policies. But they do not care who will implement the policies when these doctors are not trained. The Ministry of Health has decided to discriminate against the specialists to ensure that there are no surgeons that are going to graduate from the university, that there will be no pediatrician from the universities, there will be no obs-gyne from the universities.
KMPDU now says they will religiously hold weekly demonstrations until their demands are fully met.
Solidarity forever.
Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV News Watch, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kennedy, for that report. Moving on, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has moved to court seeking an injunction to seize assets valued at 1.4 billion shillings questionably accumulated by former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu in his capacity as Kiambu Governor and former Kabete MP. According to EACC, Waititu between 2015 and 2020 allegedly misappropriated public funds by issuing fraudulent procurement tenders to firms outsourced to offer services to the county government of Kiambu. Through a statement, EACC says, and I quote, investigations established that the Ferdinand Ndungu Waititu, aka Babayao, abused his position of trust as a member of parliament, Kabete constituency, and later as governor, Kiambu County, for private gain by engaging in transactions which were in conflict with public interest and amassed wealth that was disproportionate to his known legitimate source of income. End of quote. In the controversial period, Waititu allegedly made bank transactions worth 928 billion shillings on his personal accounts. Moving on, the Employment and Labor Relations Court has quashed the appointment of 3 Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA board members by Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe in 2021. According to Lady Justice Maureen Onyango, the appointment of Lawrence Wahome, Terry Kiunge Ramadhani and Linton Nyaga Kinywa as members of the authority's board of directors was not done in accordance with the Constitution. In regards to the case by Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, over alleged looming mass firings at the authority, the court dismissed the case for lack of adequate evidence. Now for some politics, the Azimio One Kenya Alliance presidential candidate Raila Odinga has continued his campaign tour where he visited Kapkoi and Chepchoina areas in Trans Nzoia County. While speaking to the residents, Odinga vowed to end the squatter menace in the region, promising to build a more inclusive government if he clinches presidency in the August 9th polls. Tony Omondi reports.
Tunahitaji watu ambao watachunga rasilimali.
Inawezekana. Azimio One Kenya Alliance Brigade, led by its presidential candidate Raila Odinga on Friday, met with citizens of Trans Nzoia County in different cadres to sell their agenda ahead of the general election that is about 2 months away. The presidential candidate Raila Odinga, who spoke to residents of Kapkoi and Chepchoina, promised to fulfill long-delayed promises to residents, vowing to conclusively deal with the issue of land squatters in the area.
Tunahakikisha nyinyi kwamba tukishika August haifiki December kama mtu ambaye ana shamba hapa hana title deed. Tutafanya kwa njia ya haraka sana. Pili, mambo ya mashamba ya ADC na kadhalika. Manake ardhi bado iko mingi sana hapa. Reset watu wetu. Wale ambaye hawana mashamba. Manake cha kusikia atachukua na masquatters.
Odinga has at the same time promised to end interclan clashes and strengthen security systems once he assumes power.
Tutuleta usalama hapa. Hata kama mpaka tuweke majeshi kwa mpaka hapo. Na wengine ambao wako na silaha wanabeba hapa hovyo hovyo, tutachukua hizo masilaha zote na rudisha katika store ya nini. Hatuwezi kuishi katika nchi ambayo kuna hali hatari kila siku kwa siku. Watu wanapigwa risasi hovyo hovyo. Itakwisha. It shall end.
The former Prime Minister reiterated his commitment to continue with government subsidy in agriculture to cushion farmers against high cost of machinery and fertilizer. He also took a swipe at the National Cereals and Produce Board, NCPB, saying he will streamline the board.
Hakuna taifa ambayo imeendelea ambayo wakulima hawapati msaada ya serikali. Inaitwa subsidy. Sio? Kwa hivyo sisi tutafanya subsidy kwa wakulima wetu. Kwa upande ya vifaa vya kulima, kwa upande ya mbegu, kwa upande ya mbolea na kwa upande ya soko. Mbolea itatoka kule si 6,000, si 7,000, tarudi 2,000 na kwenda chini. Alafu mambo ya NCPB. Ile karata ambayo inapigwa hapo kila siku namna hii. Kuleta mahindi kutoka Uganda, kutoka wapi, itakwisha.
Other leaders that accompanied Odinga in his tour include Suna East MP Janet Mohammed, Sirisi MP John Waluke, Defense Cabinet Secretary Jane Wamalwa, among others.
Raila amepigania nchi hii miaka zote, hata amefungwa chela. Na ndio kusuti mimi network iliwaachilia nikasema nirudi nishikane na baba. Si mnakumbuka hiyo? Sisi Bungoma, sisi Kakamega, sisi Vihiga, Busia tumeloku na baba. Hapa Trans Nzoia ndio pato mnareka. Bas. Na nataka nione mkisema baba, nione nisikie baba. Network ishika ya baba.
Swala nyeti la ardhi linaguza pwani na linatuguza hapa pia. Kweli si kweli? Lakini la kushangaza, nimesikia wale wanasema ati wataokoa wa Kenya kwa mambo ya ardhi. Wao ukiangalia historia yao, mashamba ya ADC kule Laikipia wamenyakua hawajanyakua? Kule Mombasa wamenyakua hawajanyakua? Shamba la Murumbi ukienda kule upande wa Kilgoris wamenyakua hawajanyakua? Sasa kama wamenyakua hayo na hawajakuwa marais, je, mkiacha wawe marais, hii mashamba yenu ya ADC itakwisha?
Tony Omondi, Hope TV News Watch.
Thank you, Tony, for that report. Moving on, Azimio la Umoja presidential running mate Martha Karua has kicked off her 2-day tour of Nakuru County to drum up support for the Grand Coalition's presidential flag bearer, Raila Odinga. Addressing roadside rallies at Molo Town, Turi, Elbagon, Njoro, Kaptembwa, and Masai Market in Nakuru Town, Karua noted that Azimio stood for zero tolerance on corruption, national unity, peaceful coexistence between all Kenyans and shared prosperity. She promised to complete stalled projects to benefit residents.
Tunahitaji watu ambao watachunga rasilimali ya Kenya na utajiri wa Kenya, ndio watoto wetu na vizazi vijao pia waweze kupata utajiri. Tunaelewana? Tunataka Kenya ambayo inaheshimu kila Mkenya, haki zake na mali yake. Tunaelewana? Kwa hivyo watu ambao wako na historia ya kwenda kinyume ya sheria ya Kenya na kudhulumu wa Kenya hawawezi kupatiwa uongozi wa juu.
Ukituchagua utakuwa umejifanyia mazuri, sababu matatizo yako yote tuko na kipunguo. Sisi ndio kiboko ya wafisadi hapa Kenya. Sisi ndio kiboko ya ukora wote. Sisi tutatengeneza nchi, tusahau ati Molo ilikuwa imejulikana kwa jamii kukanyangana. Tunataka hiyo ishe kabisa. Tumekubaliana watu wetu, mambo ya maji tukichunga pesa kama ile damu yenu inaitwa Litale ingekuwa imekamilika, lakini kukiwa na uporaji, wizi na uvujaji wa pesa ya umma, mambo haiwezi kukamilika, inakuanga ni maneno tu. Serikali ya baba, mambo ya matibabu itachukua mzigo itoke kwa mabega yako. Kutakuwa na bima inaitwa Baba Care, kila Mkenya apate matibabu. Ukishindwa kulipa bima, serikali itakuwa inasimamia.
Let's move to the Kenya Kwanza team, where Deputy President William Ruto continued with his tour of the coastal region on Friday, making various stops in Kilifi and Lamu counties. Addressing residents, Ruto tore at the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition for what he claims is lack of transparency in regards to the agreement they have with the various parties within it. Unlike Kenya Kwanza, Ruto once again reiterated that once elected, he will restore operations at the Mombasa port.
Tumekwisha kubaliana ya kwamba tutakuwa na bandari ya mambo ya uvuvi kama ni Takaungu na sehemu zingine ambazo zinafaa kuwa na bandari ya fishing port, mahali tutaland hizo fish, tuwe na cold rooms ambazo tunaweza kutumia katika kuhakikisha kwamba samaki zilizopatikana haziharibiki, na vile vile tuwe na processing program ili tupate ajira, tuongeze dhamana kwa samaki, na tusiuze samaki peke yake, tuuze samaki pamoja na fish products zote ambazo zinaambatana na mambo ya uvuvi. Tumekwisha kubaliana ya kwamba mambo ya korosho, mambo ya nazi iwe katika mpango wa funding ya serikali ya Kenya. Wale, they are not in a position to commit themselves in writing. If our competitors are not willing, hawawezi kuwaonyesha ile mkataba wa Azimio, hawawezi kuwaonyesha nyinyi. Hii mkataba tumeandikiana na watu wa Pwani, wakiwemo Governor Kingi na hawa viongozi wengine wote, is a public document. Unaweza kwenda mahali popote ukaipata, kwa sababu sisi sio matapeli, sisi ni wa ukweli. Tunataka yale tumekubaliana na nyinyi tuyatekeleze.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Brigade team, led by ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, continued with its charm offensive of Western region with rallies in Navaholo, Kabula, Butula, and Budalangi. The team, that also comprises Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka and Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula, crisscrossed the region, selling the bottom-up economic model. The leaders hit out at Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, asking its leaders, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, to make public the contents of the agreement they signed together with other coalition parties. Mudavadi said the agreement that has been shrouded in secrecy has only interests of a few individuals.
Wakili wa ule alikuwa anaitwa Hezekiah Ochuka. Kwa hivyo si mtu wa kuogopa. Yeye akiongoza chama cha Ford Kenya na mimi nikiongoza chama cha ANC na William Samoei Ruto akiongoza chama cha UDA, tumeweka mkataba na tumeweka sahihi, na mkataba wetu umesajiliwa kwa Registrar of Political Parties. Sisi si watu wa kuzungumza tu, tunataka kwa serikali yetu tufufue kiwanda cha Mumias. Tunataka tufufue viwanda vingine ambao viko kwa hali mbaya kama Nzoia, na tena tuongeze zingine ambazo zinahitajika vijana wetu wapate ajira.
Ukiangalia katika serikali ya saizi, president ni Uhuru, co-president ni Raila Odinga. Ile makosa yote wamefanyia wa Kenya. Mbolea sasa ni shilingi 6,000 zaidi kwa bag moja. Mbegu haipatikani, unga imepanda, mafuta imepanda, chumvi imepanda, kila kitu imepanda, na hiyo ni kwa sababu ya Raila na Uhuru. Halafu Raila anasema akiingia yeye atafanya tu kazi vile Uhuru amekuwa anafanya. Maana yake kama ni madeni ataongeza, kama ni bei ya mbolea ataongeza, kama ni bei ya mafuta ataongeza, kama ni bei ya unga ataongeza.
Hii 2022 kifika Oktoba atarudi hapa na maholo aseme Ruto handshake. Mtaona pia anatafuta handshake na nani? Na Ruto. Alafu adanganye ati ili tufikie Ruto tupitie kwake. Tunasema raundi hii tumefungua macho, tumeamua kwa Ruto tunaenda direct kupitia kwa vichwa vya nyumba hii, na ndio sababu tumepitisha kwa kauli moja. Sisi kama viongozi wa hapa Magharibi,
kama watu wa Mlembe wanatusema ati kwa hiyo serikali yao yenye wanazimia huko twende tukipiga magoti. Muko tayari kupiga magoti? Muko tayari kupiga magoti? Wapi nione wale wanasema tunaenda kwa serikali ya Ruto na heshima? Hebu nione mikono. Yule mtu ambaye anadharau Musalia Mudavadi, yule mtu ambaye anadharau Manueta, mtafurahi huyo mtu?
Baada ya namba tunaweza kusema kwa kauli moja kwamba Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta mwezi wa 8 ukifika aende nyumbani na baraka zake. Mimi nimetembea na Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi, leo hii ni siku ya 4 na nimetembea sehemu ya Western yote, nimeona ni hapa na Baholo tunaweza kufanya makosa.
Let's do one more story before we go for our first break here on Hope TV News Watch. A new report by PAL Network has revealed gaps within the special needs education sector that indicates majority of learners with disabilities have fewer inclusion opportunities in TVET institutions, formal employment, and access to internships. Recommendations from the report include that the government should fast-track a review of the Education Act of 2013 to incorporate the pertinent and contemporary issues affecting all learners, particularly those with disabilities. Adequate funding should also be provided to monitor the implementation of policies on education, employment, and social protection, as well as to review them periodically.
The finding of this study, first of all, still highlights very, very, very clearly that exclusion still exists in our society. Children with a disability are still not included in education, and as we go through the transition from one level of education to the other one, the numbers keep decreasing. And we are asking, why are we losing our children? Where are they going to? The data also showed that even at TVET, where government is investing a lot of money, we don't have a good representation of persons with a disability. Actually, some of these special needs TVET, because of what we call reverse integration, where they are including persons without disability, we have persons without disabilities taking bigger space in those particular TVETs. And we've been told that some of the curriculum that persons with disability are being exposed to in these TVETs are not adapted. They are the older courses. And therefore, whatever they are learning does not resonate with the market. And that is why, for example, in recognition of a new policy that talks about recognition of prior learning, we're hoping that we shall be able, this report will be able to seek that government pushes this policy of recognition of prior learning to especially benefit the young trainees, the youth with disabilities who have gone through sheltered workshops in their many years of schooling, and have them certified on the skills and competencies that they have gained so that they are ready for the market.
Let's go for a fast break here on Hope TV News Watch. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
Join John Cousin every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Cousin every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live. On Hope Junction, every Saturday, get to enjoy songs that cater to the young and young at heart. Let the beat keep your head nodding. That's every Saturday on Hope Junction. From 10 a.m.
Thank you for staying with us. Moving on, Narok Governor Samuel Tunai has won the charge against taking political sides. During this period, the country is heading towards the general elections. Speaking at William Ole Ntimama Stadium during the National Peace Prayer Caravan, Tunai called on spiritual leaders to be more prayerful to ensure the country elects good leaders who will spearhead development in the country. The second-term governor, who is now seeking the senatorial seat, asked residents to vote for the most credible leaders who will unite all the tribes living in the county.
Musigawanyike, kwa sababu kanisa ikigawanyika, wale watu ambaye wanapiga kura itakuwaje? Yes, lazima mpige kura, lakini msijitokeze sana, because if the church wakiingia front kugawanyika kabisa, what will the followers do? What will the youth do? Mkiwaingia mbele sana, si watashika visu na mshale? As the governor of this county, na mumeona kwamba tayari tumewekwa hotspots. I want the church to take another role because when you will need you will not be an arbitrator if you are already inside. Kama wewe utakuwa pia ni mojawapo ambayo umeenda kuingia katikati, play some role where when you'll be needed utakuwa arbitrator, because if we have already been kama already sisi ni hotspots, will lead you somewhere.
Siku ya leo tunaombea viongozi wa tabaka mbalimbali kwamba Mungu atupatie watu waaminifu wanayestahili na wanayetarajiwa. Kuna ombi tuliomba wanasiasa kama viongozi wa kidini. Moja, tumeomba siku ya Jumapili isiwe siku ya siasa. Tumeomba waende makanisa, waombe Mola, washukuru Mungu na wajumuike na waamini, maana siku hiyo si hasara. La pili, tumeomba ya kwamba lazima tuwe na nafasi tuketi na wao ili tushauri kwa maombi na hata tuwe na maelewano kwa mambo kadha wa kadha kulingana na wananchi na ile raia ambao tunaongoza. Tuko ndani yao kila siku na tumesikia kilio yao.
Still in matters politics, Embu gubernatorial aspirant Cecily Mbarire has unveiled Justice Kinyua Mugo as her gubernatorial running mate in the August 9th polls. Mbarire, who is vying on a UDA ticket, promised a raft of social welfare programs tailored to meet the needs of the Embu residents, including addressing perennial water problem that has been a thorn in the flesh for Mbeere South residents. She also promised to address perennial health crises bedeviling the Embu County Level 5 hospital. Additionally, Mbarire assured Embu residents that once she gets into office, she will crack the whip on county employees that have been messing around with county funds and resources.
Lengo langu ni kuhakikisha kwamba Embu County is united. Kwamba sisi wote wenyeji wa Embu County tumeshikana. Na njia kushikana sio tu kuongea, ni matendo. Na matendo ile mimi ningetaka number 1 ni kuhakikisha full representation ya watu wote Embu County within the executive arm of government. And my way of doing that nitahakikisha kwamba ward zote 20 hakuna ambaye haitakuwa either na CEC kama haina CEC kuna chief officer. That way we'll make sure that all the 20 wards are represented in the executive na kwamba hakuna mtu amebaki nyuma. Huyu executive ambaye atakuwa katika serikali ya executive atakuwa anafanya kazi very closely na MCA wake, so that whatever agenda tumepitisha na MCA ahakikishe kwamba budget ikiandikwa tumeallocate pesa ya ile project tumesema tutafanya kabla iende kwa county assembly.
From Embu, let's move to Mombasa County, where Mombasa gubernatorial aspirant and former Nyali legislator Awiti Bolo has asked the IBC not to be used to block candidates seeking elective positions in the country. Awiti claimed that the commission was being used to target certain politicians in the country and block them from vying under the disguise that they were impeached or facing corruption charges in court. Awiti, who is seeking to replace incumbent Governor Ali Hassan Joho, called on the police to arrest and prosecute politicians who are recruiting youth to cause violence.
Tusitumie chombo ya IEBC to block and others. Hiyo ni ya kwanza. Ya pili, kama umekuwa you already been voted out on the government, impeachment, hata bankruptcy, hauna pesa, shamba lako limenunuliwa, huwezi kufungulia account bank. Ama umeshikwa na wizi ya public fund, hata wewe ukienda kusimama pale unataka public job, si wewe pia unajisikia kama ni ujinga ama ni nini? Wewe ni mwizi bwana, wewe ni mwizi mpaka kupitia ile mchujo uonekane wewe si mwizi tena, unataka kwenda kuiba mwingine pesa nyingine kwa mali pengine. Hapana, hiyo mimi naunga IEBC. Umesikia nimeongea mambo matatu. Moja, apewe chance asimamisiri kotini, ngoja koti ishe ndio urudi kwa kiwanja. Ya pili pia wale wizi wachunguzi lifestyle, correct? Si itajulikana hiyo. Ya pili pia nakataa, IEBC should not be used as a roadblock without giving somebody chance. Are you together? Lakini mwizi ni mwizi. So long as you are in court, you are in the court, you are not declared, you are still processing as a criminal. Must be the process. The process must be fulfilled.
Still in Mombasa, human rights bodies based in the county are calling on politicians and Kenyans at large to maintain peace in the vote-hunting campaigns ahead of the August polls. Speaking during the flagging off of a peace caravan under the Kenya Electoral Conflict Mitigation and Civil Voter Education Support Program funded by USAID, the activists cautioned the youth, who form about 75% of the registered voters, against engaging in political violence and voting in leaders based on party ethnic grouping, affiliation, religion, and race.
Tumechagua hizo counties kwa sababu moja, ukiangalia counties kama Kwale na Tana River kwa jumla huwa ziko na record ya kuwa na violence wakati wa elections na pia tumechagua Mombasa na Kilifi kwa sababu ziko na idadi kubwa pia ya vijana ambao wameregister kura na wako eligible kupiga kura. Kufikia sasa hatujapata visa vyovyote major va violence, electoral violence, isipokuwa kidogo katika hizi election campaigns, na ndio maana tunahimiza sana vijana ambao ndio wengi hapa Kenya. Asilimia kubwa, about 75% of the Kenyan population ni vijana. Tunawahimiza waweze kudesist katika any form of violence wakati wa elections, hata pia baada ya elections, ili tuwe na peaceful elections. Kwa hivyo so far hatuja register visa vyovyote va violence, lakini kidogo tu katika hizi campaigns ambazo tumekuwa tukishuhudia.
Tumeweka monitors, tuko na maobserver nyanjani, tuko na maagent wetu wana monitor hizi campaign na election in general. Kwa hivyo mwanasiasa yoyote ama mtu yoyote atakayeleta vurugu, kihakika tamchukulia hatua za kisheria. Tutapata na IBC ku make sure kama ni mwanasiasa umefikishwa kotini, na ikiwezekana pia kabla ya election usimamishwe usisimame. Kwa hivyo what we want is just peace. Now we have been moving around ku monitor situation yote. That's all for now.
It is a sigh of relief for some of the bright but needy candidates who passed KCPE in Alego Usonga in Siaya after the office of the Member of Parliament, Samuel Atandi, offered a full scholarship to them. Speaking while giving checks to the parents of the beneficiaries, George Adeya, MP Atandi's personal assistant, pointed out that the office is keen on ensuring that the bright students get the opportunity to learn just like others. His sentiments were echoed by the parents whose children benefited from the scholarship program.
When first I heard that my daughter has passed the exam, I was happy for some time, but then I came to be very sad because I was wondering how I will get the finance to fund her education. So fortunately enough, I saw a team of men coming home from the CDF office. They talked to me. I remitted my documents which were necessary. So it was this morning when I had a phone call that our check had been processed and we have to go and pick them and take our daughters to school.
It is so evident that the program is bearing fruits, and as we continue enrolling more and more into the program in the coming years, we are assured of getting a pool of professionals. And this is a clear indication that the leadership of Honorable Samuel Atandi is focused, because in our society there's not much we can do for our kids rather than giving them education to shape their lives in future.
We are so much happy because this program is capturing the vulnerable and the needy students across the constituency who have managed to score higher marks, but they cannot manage to afford the schools where they have been invited to join. And under the leadership of Honorable Samuel Atandi, the Alego Usonga NGCDF offers full scholarship that covers the education process of these students from Form 1 up to tertiary level.
Now for our feature of the week. This month, being a mental health awareness month, diagnosis and treatment vary in different ways. Mental illness has been a threat to humanity for years across the globe. Patients who have suffered from mental illness have always described the road as crazy, with stigmatization being one of the challenges that led them to sink further into the menace. Tonight, our special reports reporter, Dolly Murigi, brings us the story of two men who battled mental health challenges and how they overcame them.
It is the battle of the mind, triggered by real situations in life. The rising number of mental-related cases is on the rise, even as the government is trying hard to come up with possible solutions to tackle the matter. Kibra is located to the southwest of the city of Nairobi, maybe known as the second largest slum in Africa, where business goes on for 24 hours, but now it's a slum that is slowly proving to be home to many youth who are involved in organized crime. Meet Moses Mbeya, the vice chair of Akili Bomba in Kibra. He was born and raised here in this slum. At the age of 14, Moses indulged in alcoholism, which he struggled with for 5 years to hide what he claims as a stressful life.
I must say I have come from a background that is not that poor, a well-off family. I went to good schools, yet at age 14, I already started drinking alcohol. All through up to campus, I finished campus, I got some jobs. They were all messed up because of alcohol drinking. So I have had a lot of challenges with alcohol drinking, but I came to Akili Bomba and found a support system that lacked for me a lot.
An estimated population of 1 million suffers from inadequate housing, overcrowding, poor or non-existent sanitation, and grinding poverty in the slum. This, as Moses says, has been the greatest contributor to mental illness.
I realized that what you need is a support system. For me, my mom was a good support system. She encouraged me to keep on struggling to stop drinking alcohol. And I found that to be very unique, in the sense that it helped me. In our society here in Kibra, you find that when someone is undergoing a lot of mental challenges, as a result of very stress, then they engage into alcoholism, then they go back to the community and say, we want to change, then the community struggles to accept him or her.
Felix Kokonya, the founder and the chairperson of Akili Bomba, was born and raised too at Kibra slum. At a tender age, he was involved in a gang and later introduced to drugs and petty crime, which grew up into advanced crime.
Nilikuwa mraibu wa bangi, nilikuwa mraibu wa miraa, nilikuwa mraibu wa pombe, nilikuwa mraibu wa heroin. Ikafika mahali mpaka nilikuwa najidunga kichuri kwa veins zangu. So for a period of 25 years nilikuwa kwa addiction. Na ninaweza sema ya kwamba kile ambacho kilinifanya kuweza kuamua kuachana na miadarati ni ya kwamba niliona wenzangu ambao tulikuwa natumia nao wakiweza kuaga, wengine wakifungwa jela, wengine wako kamiti mpaka muda huu tunaongea na wewe.
Even after being taken at the rehabilitation center 3 consecutive times, that was not a solution to him. Crime was part of him.
Rehab haikunisaidia. Manake nikitoka rehab, nilikuwa narudi hapa nje na kutana the same faces zenye niliwacha hapa, the same people wenye tulikuwa tunakunywa nao pombe. So ilikuwa inani lead back to addiction. Sasa kile ambacho ninafurahia ya kwamba nilipata wakati huu ni wakati ambapo nilirudi kutoka sehemu ambapo nilienda kutafuta kusaidika, nikawacha for 4 months nikiketi sehemu huko South Nyanza kama rehabilitation. Nilikuja nikapata wenzangu ambao nao pia walikuwa napitia uraibu. Sasa nilikuja na hiyo idea ya tuketi chini, tutengeneze support group.
According to the Mazingira Women Initiative founder, Malasen Hamida, one can't have a clean environment without having a sound mind. The initiative deals with mental issues and environment conservation.
Ukiangalia mazingira ya mwanadamu na mazingira yake kwa ujumla, inataka akili ikiwa sawa sawa. kwa sababu kama akili zetu haziko sawasawa, hatuna utulivu wa akili, tuko na msongamano wa mawazo, unapata mazingira yetu yanakuwa mabaya zaidi. Ukipata mtu ambaye ako na msongamano wa mawazo, unapata anajitenga, unapata wakati mwingine hata hajiangalii mazingira yake, unapata wakati mwingine hata haogi, unapata ni mchafu, hata penye anaishi ukiangalia mazingira yale hapo, unaangalia mazingira ni machafu, huyo mtu hayuko sawa.
The impact of COVID-19 was greatly felt across the country, across all ages. Rising cases of domestic violence, anger, frustration, teen pregnancies was not easy tasks to deal with.
Mwanzo kazi imeharibika, mapato yamepungua na watu hawajazoeana. Wazazi, familia, mume na mke hawajazoeana kuangaliana kwa wakati mwingi. So unapata ile hasira inakuja, unapata kumekuwa na domestic violence nyingi sana wakati wa COVID. Tukiangalia kumekuwa na mambo kama unapata teenage pregnancies.
Post-pandemic mental illnesses led to an increase in suicide cases as opposed to the previous times. COVID-19 was a stress factor that prolonged for long.
We had a lot of people being laid off from their workplaces. We had people who, if you're earning 100,000, suddenly the company is not making as much money because of COVID, so you're told you're going to be paid 50,000. There's also the issue of domestic violence. We had to deal a lot with that. If you follow the statistics, the upsurge on domestic violence went up very high. And why did this happen? Because people are forced into close proximity.
However, it's not easy for the psychologists either. At times, they need help too.
Even we as psychologists do need help psychologically. We meet so many instances in our line of work where you feel that is weighing so heavily on my mind. Sometimes you feel like you can't sleep. Because one of the things that we do in psychological counseling is to empathize a lot with what is going on in the lives of our patients, which means that you see their worldview. So if someone comes to you and experiencing loss and grief, sometimes it could trigger loss that you also encountered, and it sets you in a bad place mentally. So what do? We go for what we call peer supervision.
According to Reverend Moses Boyd, unless a lot of information is given by the patient, it is a challenge for the one involved to heal, as it is a time process for recovery.
The attitude towards recovery requires that the person is actually positive towards recovery. That's one. Number two, I will recommend that someone would also be able to visit a counselor and get the recommendations of the counselor as to how they can get recovery. Then I'll now move and tell you that you also will need a spiritual guidance.
Because there is evidence that medication actually helps people, isn't it? But now if a spiritual or a traditional healer comes and tells you don't take the medication, then what happens? The patient actually relapses, which means they now stop being well, they go back to the state they were in before, and sometimes to a much worse state than they were in. So we say, if your pastor can come and pray for you and you take your medication, then by all means we encourage that.
A message to mental health patients.
I will encourage people who are undergoing a lot of mental health situations and families that have people undergoing the same to look at the person before he became an alcoholic or a drug addict or GBV person, whatever situation they are going through, to try and support them. That's why in Akili Bomba we try to sensitize the family.
I'll suggest to anyone out there who's going through mental illness that they will be patient with themselves, they will be patient with the counselors, patient with the pastors, but as well, they should be able to give information completely without hiding so much, because I think if you need recovery, then you should be able to give information.
Dolly Wirigi for Hope TV.
Thank you, Dolly, for that report. Moving on to some business news, Family Bank Group has recorded a 1.05 billion shillings profit before tax for the first 3 months of 2022, marking a 43.7% growth in earnings, up from 728.8 million shillings recorded in March 2021. The growth was primarily driven by net interest income, which increased by 13.5% to 2.05 billion shillings. Operating expenses registering a 4% reduction to 1.72 billion shillings. Commenting on the results, the bank's Chief Executive Officer, Rebecca Mbithi, noted that total assets continued to grow at 122.3 billion shillings, a 28.9% increase from the similar period last year. According to Mbithi, the growth was driven by the continued expansion of the bank's loan book to 72.6 billion shillings and investments in government securities, owing to improved liquidity, efficiency, and capital. Moving on, WPP's Can Group PLC shareholders have passed resolutions that will strengthen the composition of its board and welcomed the appointment of its new Chief Executive Officer, Patricia Idau. According to the shareholders who spoke during their 16th Annual General Meeting, AGM, the appointments will not only improve the independence of the board, but also present a more diverse face of the WPP's Can Group Board of Directors. The new CEO, Patricia Idau, while outlining her vision for the company, noted that emphasis will be on scaling up WPP's Can Group's technology-driven capabilities to ensure a stronger intersection of content and data.
This morning, we've just had our 16th Annual General Meeting, outlining our performance for 2021, but more importantly, trying to share the vision and the future for 2022 and of course beyond. What was important in the meeting today was firstly to just give some confidence around the future and what we have in view, or what indeed I would like to be the vision for this business going forward. I'm very clear that for us to continue to be the leading agency, to continue to serve our clients better, to be, cutting edge in every single way, and also, of course, to be a great place for our team and our talents to be.
We're really working on the balance, gender balance, and you can see that we are scoring very well in that sector. Patricia joined us in March this year. Many of you know Patricia in the marketplace, and we believe that she's going to add that value that we've been looking for and drive the business in the best way possible. So it's been a very exciting morning for us, and we're pleased that we're able to deliver the AGM. Obviously, the shareholders always want to hear about the dividend. Every shareholder wants to hear about the dividend, but it's not every time that a company must deliver a dividend, particularly coming from the background of COVID-19. It's been a very, very tough environment, and we're just getting through the motions of that. Happy to see that we are now beyond COVID in terms of trying to manage businesses without having to look back and without staff having to stay away from their performance of their obligations. So we are very pleased that this is going ahead.
Let's do our last business story. Safaricom Investment Cooperative is set to begin the construction of a 750 million shillings real estate project in Ruaka, Kiambu County to meet the growing needs for affordable housing in the county. The housing project, dubbed the Miran Residence, is a 3-acre urban development nestled in the western end of the Nairobi bypass. The launch of the housing project is timely as it plugs into the government's Big Four agenda on affordable housing. This is the 5th housing project by Safaricom Investment Cooperative Society.
The launch of this project has been part of our key area of delivery for 2022, which focuses on setting up a housing unit whose sole mandate would be to focus on delivering quality housing to our members and investors. So probably the differentiator between what you see out there and what SIC is giving, and as I said, we provide value. You could be having so many houses out there, affordable, but the quality is extremely poor. The sewerages are leaking, the house is leaking. So we are on a mission to provide a home and a quality and affordable home.
An entity you can do business with and you can trust. And this is not the first time they have offered this kind of houses. I have, as I mentioned earlier, in the last about 4 years, still I witnessed houses being delivered by these same institutions. And I believe even this time you are going to deliver and continue doing the same. And this is one of our key government agenda, especially on provision of affordable housing. Affordable housing is one of is actually a social pillar, but as well, it has also some economic implication. Unless you are able to pay rent, you will never be secure. And the best way you can avoid some of these challenges of ukiona mtu akigonga mlango, hata kama ni mgeni ndugu yako unafikiria ni landlord, acquire your own apartment.
Our fellow committee enjoying.
Now for some sports, Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool are seeking to cap a remarkable season by avenging their 2018 defeat against Real Madrid when the sides meet again in the Champions League final in Paris on Saturday. But the Spanish Giants have their sights on a 14th European Cup triumph. It is Liverpool's third Championship League final in 5 seasons after they followed their 3-1 loss to Real in Kiev by beating Tottenham Hotspur in Madrid a year later, and they were widely seen as slight favorites at the Stade de France to become kings of Europe for a 7th time. A crowd of 80,000 will fill the Stade de France with 20,000 fans of each team officially in attendance. KCB women's volleyball team is set to face Kenyan side Kenya Prisons in the quarterfinals of the Africa Women's Volleyball Club competition in Tunisia. The Bankers dethroned Nigeria's Custom Service in the round of 16, beating them 3-0 to secure the quarterfinal slot. KCB head coach Jafet Bunala exhibited optimism ahead of the clash, admitting the match is going to be tough and he hopes his charges will emerge victorious. KCB and Kenya Prisons have a long-standing rivalry going neck-to-neck in local and international tournaments. The former finished runners-up in last season's Kenya Volleyball Federation League, with the latter being crowned champions. The Bankers are currently leading the pack in the Kenyan Volleyball League, with Prisons sitting second after round 5. And that sports news brings us to the end of this live broadcast. Many thanks for keeping me company, and many thanks for the team who made this live broadcast a success. Enjoy the rest of your programming and your weekend. See you again next week. Bye-bye.